Hey everyone, Kevin here. I have good news for you on additional stimulus. So here's the scoop. 2 days ago, there were a lot of articles going around. Wall Street Journal, The Hill, you name it. A lot of headlines saying White House has paused negotiations with Democrats on further stimulus. Negotiations are paused. Wait and see. And there were a lot of YouTube videos of people kind of freaking out. Like, oh no, like, come on, like, hello, we need help here. What do you mean you're pausing negotiations? What do you mean you're waiting? Well, 2 days ago on May 8th, I also posted a video saying, no, the White House was misquoted. And this is not me trying to take sides, okay? I'm not trying to play the, oh, they're right here. I'm not trying to play sides. I'm playing fact checker because I want to give you actual facts. And the fact is, when I watched the White House say that, I saw they were misquoted by the Wall Street Journal and The Hill. And that sent the wrong message to all of us about future stimulus. Well, today, on May 10th, the White House just came out and reiterated what they actually meant. Let me give you a breakdown of what they said and what else they told us so we can get a clearer picture of the latest information. Okay, just because it's fun and because why not, let me start by telling you what I said 2 days ago and showing you that article, and there's no better way to do that than just to play you 10 or 15 seconds of this. Sure. And the article simply quotes Larry saying, "We're kind of paused as far as formal negotiations go." But this is totally out of context, and nowhere in the article is the rest of the context given. But don't worry, that's what you have me for. So now let's talk about the rest of the context and understand what Kudlow actually meant in his words. And while we're at it, I may as well give you a little bit of context about what else Larry Kudlow said, because he's kind of important. He's kind of a big deal. He's the White House economic advisor. That means he's the guy leaning into Trump's ear going, yo, dude, this is what's happening, man. This is what we gotta be thinking about. Anyway, the conversation kind of starts out with Larry Kudlow on George Stephanopoulos' show, ABC This Week. And George essentially starts by saying, hey, look, if the White House isn't fully safe and people are getting sick, despite the fact that you guys have like the best medical care ever at the White House and you're all testing everybody like crazy, how can average Americans feel safe with the idea of going back to work? And then Kudlow kind of blows that off and kind of says, I think that businesses large and small are probably going to wind up leading this charge as we attempt to reopen the economy. And he kind of blows that off a little bit. He says that companies are very innovative. They know what job has to be done, cleanliness, so on and so forth. But he does feel optimistic that between public and private healthcare systems, we can do this. And that kind of optimism in response to kind of a damning question is really important. Keep this in mind. Larry is speaking through a political filter. There's like reality is within his head, and then in some senses, and again, I'm not trying to take political sides here, just this is what it seems to be. He seems to be kind of blurring what he's saying with this political mask of, it's all gonna be great, the second quarter is gonna be the rebound, the third quarter is gonna be the transition, and next year is gonna be great. We're gonna have the roaring 20s again. He said that, by the way, roaring 20s. Anyway, what else does he say? He says safety is absolutely critical, but it's not either or. I think it's safety and reopening. They go hand in hand. George then asked, but the president said on Friday that these jobs will all be back. Is it realistic? A realistic promise that the president can keep? And this is where we get to the stuff about the stimulus. Larry Kudlow clarifying the White House's position on stimulus, which is huge, very important. But anyway, he goes on to say, numbers in May, the numbers in May will also be very difficult. Inside the numbers, there is a glimmer of hope, but I don't want to downplay the numbers, how bad they are. He said that 80% of the people who were unemployed essentially were furloughs and temporary layoffs. And he does agree that that doesn't necessarily assure that you'll go back to your job, but it suggests the cord between businesses and workers are still intact. It's just a fancy way of saying, like, yeah, not all of those people are gonna get their jobs back, but if they were gonna get fired, they would have gotten fired instead of furloughed and laid off. I don't know how much of that I believe. I honestly think like of the 80% that got furloughed and laid off, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe only 50% of them get back to work soon. That's half. That's bad. Like I think a lot of these furloughs and layoffs are going to become permanent, especially unless demand like instantly recovers, which we would need a vaccine out tomorrow for that to happen. But that's my opinion. Continuing on with what he says, He mentions that including, and this is coming up to the stimulus part, including the Federal Reserve, we've probably had $9 trillion worth of assistance going to 175 million individuals. It's a remarkable plan to attempt to stabilize a very difficult situation. You can see this is the political lens talking, right? Okay, now here's the part we've been waiting for. George asks, well, House Democrats say they need another $2 trillion plan. Aid to state and local governments, much more testing, more direct aid, like unemployment insurance, food stamps, and direct checks. Yet you and the president have said now is not the time to be dealing with that. George is actually falling into that trap of 2 days ago, the misquoting. George is using a misquoting to kind of attack Larry here, so it puts Larry on the defense. And look at his straight up reply, which is kind of good that he was pushed into this position, because then you kind of get less of the filter. It's kind of like he's taking the filter away now, and he's going, that's not what I meant. So here it is. I'm not saying now is not the time, and I don't think that's what the president said either. I think that many people would just like to pause for a moment and take a look at the economic impact of this massive assistance program, which is the greatest in the US history. That's being said. And then here we go. This is it. This is Larry Kudlow reading the article I cited earlier and slammed for being misleading about the White House. And Larry says, I was reading in the papers this morning that there's no talks between the White House and Democrats. That's simply not true. There's no formal negotiation yet. I say yet, but in fact on Friday, Kevin Hassett, my colleague in the White House, and I did a conference call with Democrats and Republicans. We're scheduled to do another call on the Senate side tomorrow. We're collecting ideas on next steps, which is like, I'm like thrilled, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, okay? I make mistakes too, but that's literally what I said 2 days ago. I go, sure, it's on Congress right now. It's not on the White House. The bill's gonna start in the House, then it's gonna go to the Senate, then the White House is gonna look at it. That's gonna take 3 to 4 weeks to all happen because Congress is slow. We all know that. But then he does say, you know, look, there are going to be agreements and disagreements. It's not like we're not talking. We are. It's just informal at this stage. So this is really good. And this actually gives, in my opinion, us a lot more optimism because, you know, some of those articles, when they're on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, talks paused. It's kind of like, are you serious? Our government is that freaking dysfunctional? Like, we're out here suffering. They expect us to go back to work so we can buy stuff, but people don't have any money to go buy stuff. How are people supposed to go to work to support nobody showing up? It's a mess. And so yes, we need more stimulus, and this finally gives us more clarity. And I know it feels like we're like taking turtle steps forward, but folks, that's the way the government works. That's the way it is. I'm frustrated by it too. Tell me, like, I'd love to talk about stocks and passive income and actually investing correctly, which I do every day in my money program linked below. I teach you the psychology of how to actually use credit lines and safe forms of debt and why the rich actually get richer and why poor stay poor. Made an analogy this morning about it's almost like this pandemic is making most of us have crutches. And on top of us having crutches, a lot of us are getting kind of pushed at the same time. So it's kind of like, you're trying to get ahead, but you're on crutches and you keep getting pushed back. Meanwhile, the rich who know how to play the money game, who have that psychology of money down, they're taking advantage of this, making even more money. It's a disaster. We obviously need more stimulus. Obviously, if you haven't yet, you need to get 2 free stocks with the stock trading platform Webull. There's a link for it down below. You open an account, you put $100 in, and within like 10 days, you get 2 free stocks. Anywhere from $12 to $1,400. It's like a free lottery ticket. If somebody handed you a lottery ticket, would you not scratch it? Then go buy some stocks. If you need a suggestion, just buy like SPY or put it into a VOO index fund. That way you don't have to worry about the company going BK because it's an index fund. Anyway, there you have it. Check out Lauren's vlog, by the way. It's Mother's Day. I'll link Lauren's vlog down below. She made a vlog of kind of what her day is like, what my house looks like, and what things are like behind the scenes when I'm actually off work and not actually working. By the way, here's exactly how you buy that index fund with Webull. You just press markets down here at the bottom. Then at the top, you type in VOO. click VOO. There you go. That's the Vanguard S&P 500 Index Fund, ETF. Anyway, click this little trade button down here. And what do y'all say we go ahead and put 500 bucks into this? So let's go ahead, and it's selling for what, $269 now? Let's go ahead and buy 2 shares of the VOO. We'll go ahead and make that a good till canceled order and an extended hours trade. And then of course, because it is Sunday, I have to wait until 4 a.m. Eastern time to place this order tomorrow. So I'll actually put it through tomorrow. But that's how easy it would be if today were a weekday during extended hours, 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. So there you have it, folks. We'll see you soon.